Welcome back to my channel. My name is Akiba. I am a certified teacher turned homeschool mom. Welcome to another video. Today is day one of teaching your child how to read during self-isolation. We're doing 30 days to slow the curve, and we're also doing 30 days to teach our child, any age child, how to read or how to become more proficient in their reading. So let's just jump right into the content. Whether your child is 2 years old, 8 years old, 12 years old, during these next 30 days, they're going to become really good readers. And hopefully it only lasts 30 days, guys. So let's jump right in. The first thing that you need to do, day one, today, tonight, whenever you're watching this video, is to assess your child. That is, find out what they know, find out what they don't know. Let's go over the age groups. If your child is a 2 or 3 year old, you want to find out what they know so that you're not starting a reading program with stuff that's too easy or too hard. A lot of times I'll talk to parents and they'll say, oh yeah, my child knows all the letter sounds, they're ready. And I'm like, really? Let's give a little assessment. And it's not to test your child to say, oh, they're at this level or that level, but assessment is a part of figuring out what we're going to teach them next. So let me give you an example. Take a look here. This says, what sound is this, right? Maybe your child already knows the C says, k, right? Awesome, congratulations. What other sound does this make? Right? So a lot of times when we think, oh yeah, our kid is good, they know all the sounds, maybe they don't know all the sounds. Maybe we can start to teach them some alternative sounds for the letters. Now, going up through into elementary school, let's say your child is a second grader and they still don't know how to read, and you're just like, oh, they just don't know anything. We're starting from square one. Well, maybe not. Maybe they have some specific problems that you can assess and tackle. Same thing with older students, middle or high school. If they're having trouble comprehending, you might say like, they just don't know how to read. They have, no, let's find out specifically what are they having trouble with, and we're going to tackle that issue instead of throwing a wide net and just saying, okay, let's just go from everything. Let me teach them phonics. Let me teach them vocabulary. We need to find out what the specific problem is, or for kids who don't know how to read yet, what is their starting point. What we don't want to do with children of any age is give them something that's too easy to do and then they get bored and you start to see those signs of boredom, or give them something too hard and then they get discouraged and you start to see those same signs because they're discouraged. So what we want to do is find out where they are, and then we're going to teach them going forward. Now, how do you assess your child? Well, these whole 30 days, guys, I'm going to give you options that are either completely free or very, very, very cheap, because I want to kind of let everyone in on this, and everyone doesn't have like $100 or $200 to spend on these different programs. So 2 resources that I've used before that I really like are abcmouse.com for the younger kids. I really like that for maybe kindergarten 2, K2, that's basically, or pre-K2, so ages 2 to 8, for their assessment purposes. And then Reading A through Z, or RAS Kids, which is something that a lot of schools use for older kids, all the way up to middle school. So let's start with the little kids. ABC Mouse. What you need to do is go on abcmouse.com right now. Sign up for their free trial. I think it's like a free 30-day trial. You are going to have to insert some credit card information or pay a PayPal account, but they won't charge your card. Now, be sure to cancel before those 30 days are up if you don't want to continue. Me personally, I think it's a great value. And also, here's a little trick. If you go to sign up, I think it costs normally, like, let's say it costs $100 for the 12 months. They'll say, oh, instead of paying the $100, do you want to pay $60 now for the 12 months? And you'll press no, and they're like, oh, do you want to pay $40? Right? And then if you do the trial and you actually cancel, it'll go less and less and less, because they want to prevent you from canceling. So even though it might say it's $100 or something a year, if you seem like you're going to not continue with the program, they'll give you better and better offers. So just a little trick. And I really like ABC Mouse. There's ABC Mouse and there's another reading app that I really like. But the reason I'm recommending this is purely for the assessment. So once you sign up for the free trial, there's going to be some stuff that pops up. You have to watch their entire 2-minute little ad spiel in order to get the trial. But it's good because it tells you what exactly comes with ABC Mouse and what exactly it can do. So it's kind of worth it. And then once you get in there, it's going to say, hey, do you want to add the assessment center for like another $3.99 a month or something? But the first 14 days are free. Click yes. At the assessment center, you do need to do ongoing assessments. However, I think for younger kids, just seeing the first 14 days, just seeing the first assessment is really going to blow your mind, guys. You're going to be like, what? I thought my kid knew that. And they really don't. And so if you have older kids, keep listening to this part because it applies to you too. When you get onto the ABC Mouse Assessment Center, there's the big test that maybe takes like an hour, or you can divide it up into like 3 or 5 minute portions. Obviously for little kids, you want to divide it up. And there's testing in reading and math, but since we're only focusing on reading, I'll give you an example. This is actually one of the examples from the kindergarten test. So this is like, can your child read at the kindergarten level? But it's not really a yes or no question. This is really telling you what exactly your child needs to read, or what skills they need to work on. So imagine you had a pre-K-er, because I think a P-Way was about 2 when I first did the first assessment with her, and I was so confident. I went in, I'm like, oh, she's gonna blast through all this. I'm gonna start her at kindergarten level. Obviously, as a parent, even as a skilled teacher, as a parent, I'm like, oh yeah, she knows all this. I taught her all this, right? When we get into the assessment, let's say they're doing the names of the letters. It'll take them through the names of the letters, not in order, right? It'll tell you, hey, have your child say their ABCs, but just say them and not sing them. Do they know them, right? Or it will say, what letter comes after K? So a lot of people might think, oh yeah, my kid knows their ABCs, they know the alphabet, but when you ask them like, okay, start at K, do they know it? Right? So that tells you where you need to be working. Your feelings are going to get hurt a little bit. You're going to be nervous, but here's what you should not do at any level. Do not coach your child along at all. Simply read the instructions. If they don't understand the instructions, just click that they didn't know and they don't understand. Even though you feel like they understand, I'm telling you the language that's used on these assessments is age appropriate. So at first I thought that a P-Way was going to get tripped up because I was like, I know that she knows the different sounds that the letter C can make, but I'm not sure if she understands how they're asking. But if they truly do know the other sounds, they will understand the question, right? So basically, just read the question as it's asked. Just follow the directions. Don't give them any hints. Don't say, come on, you know this. Just like circle, don't give them any hints like that. Don't do anything like that. All right, moving on. And so this is for pre-K through second grade assessment here. So if you have a third grader who you suspect might be behind, sign up, give them the second grade assessment and see what skills you can pinpoint that they need to work on. Next, we're going over to, I think I'm looking up here, not at you guys, sorry. Next, let's talk about reading A through Z. Professional. So if you have older kids, like upper elementary to middle school, you're going to want to use reading A through Z. And also, this is what a lot of schools and teachers use to assess, period. The A through Z, I think, I'm pretty sure this is right. There's reading level A, or AA, and then there's reading level Z. And so I think it's basically the idea is like taking kids from A to Z. Reading level A is kindergarten, and then reading level, I think A, B, and C, whatever, might be kindergarten. And then when you get to Z, that's like 6th grade. So your kids might have already come home and be like, Mom, I'm reading level F, or hey, I just graduated, I moved on to RR or something. And you're like, I have no idea what that means. What it means is that their school is using this. It's pretty popular. And they are assessing their reading and then telling the kids where they are. So if your kid is at a Z or a ZZ, whatever it is, they're on the 6th grade level. And once you can master level Z, you pretty much should be able to read anything, right? Because in the 7th and 8th grade, they're learning how to read. They're just gathering some new vocabulary, and really talking about critical thinking and critical reading instead. All right. So how do you test on reading A through Z? It looks like this. Let's see if I can bring you guys in a little bit. Maybe if I stand back here, it'll focus. Hopefully you guys can read this. I'm not sure if you can. So I'm going to try to move you in without turning off my camera, because I don't really have a lot of time to edit videos. Oops. I'm going to stand out here. All right, I'll just go like this so that it can be in focus. Let's read this. And this is level F, I think. A, B, C, D, E, F, which I believe is somewhere in first grade. What you're going to get on reading A through Z, once you sign up, okay, let me jump in here again. When you sign up for the reading A through Z trial, it's a little bit weird. If you've already signed up for the trial, you're going to have to use like a different email address. You're going to have to go into something that says, I think, Raz Kids, click it to open it, and then you'll see reading A through Z, and you can like start your free trial or whatever, access it, whatever. If you have trouble accessing reading A through Z, just contact them and get your free trial. Then it's going to take you through this really cool thing that's new, and it looks kind of like a video game for teachers, parents, administrators, and it's going to say, are you a teacher, administrator? Just click teacher. And then it's going to walk you through a lot about reading and a lot about their resources. They have a ton of resources. If you want, take the time to like go through that whole little pathway that they're going to show you. But for now, let's talk about assessment and the assessment centers. Click on assessments. You'll be led to running records and reading passages. So what are running records? What are reading passages? Well, they give you literally a reading passage, and you as the adult are going to keep a reading record. Now, hold on. If this is sounding like a little bit overwhelming for you, don't worry, because after I talk about this, I'm going to tell you a really simple way of doing this. And this is for any child who can already read a bit. Not necessarily for kids who are still learning the letter sounds, although it does start again at the kindergarten level. So if you have a pre-K or kindergartner who can read a little bit, there are reading passages for them as well. So we're going to use these passages to diagnose the problem or the problem areas in our child's reading. So I'm going to read this, and what I want you to do is listen for mistakes as I read, okay? Ready? Kim went to pick flowers for Mom. She walked it into the field where the flower grew. She picked blue and red flowers. This is ... because, there's other stuff that was written here. She put the flowers on the table and sat them on the table. Okay, now, first of all, can you see all of that? Yeah, you can. First of all, I copied this passage wrong. Okay, but I did make some mistakes. Let's go through and let's see if you caught the mistakes that I made. And I actually meant to make more mistakes, but I didn't. So Kim went, I'll read it again how I read it or how I was supposed to read it. Kim went to pick flowers for Mom. She walked it, right? That does not say walked it. It says walked. But a lot of kids, regardless of the age, depending on how they were taught to speak, right? And depending on if they know that ED, it's just like the duh sound, we'll say walk dead or some weird thing here. Does that count as a mistake? Yes, it does. So you're going to circle it, and you're also going to cross it out. So now you know, oh, okay, we need to focus on those word endings, that ED. She walked it into the forest where this doesn't say forest. And if you want to get real technical, you'll write a R or something like that you're just basically writing little notes for yourself to write, they kind of replace this word or guessed. The first time I actually said field, but I meant to say forest, because a lot of kids will do that. They'll be just thinking about context, like, oh, we're talking about a girl who's going to pick flowers, maybe she walked into a forest, right? If they don't know that what sound I and E make, they're just going to guess. But what do we know from that? Well, we know that they are paying attention to the first sound of the word, so that's good. That's information right there. So she walked into the field where the flower grew. Oh, flowers grew. You're leaving off the endings. So actually we see now here twice that this child is messing up endings. So maybe it's not that they just can't read, it's that they need to be told to pay very close attention to the endings of their words. She picked blue and red flowers. She put the flowers on the table and sat them on the table. Oh, this doesn't say sat, it says set. So now I know I need to teach the child to pay attention to that middle vowel sound, okay? And especially a lot of kids who are good readers, who read fast sometimes, they'll read so fast that they're kind of guessing and they'll mess up words. They don't even know that they've messed up words, and it can change the whole meaning of a sentence or paragraph or thought. Right? So that's what reading A through Z will give you, along with a bunch of other stuff. So including for pre-K and kindergarten kids, there are a lot of phonics assessments as well. For example, rhyming, which is definitely a part of literacy. So let me move you back a little bit. And I'll talk a little bit more about now going on to older kids. Or maybe first I'll talk to you about fixing these problems, right? So go on here if you can, but if you can't, here's a simple, like the old school way of kind of doing this. Sit down with your child and have them read to you, whatever age, right? Whatever age child, have them read to you. If you have 2 copies of one book, fine. If you're both looking at the book, fine. And just let them read, and you're just writing down the mistakes they make. Listen really carefully, right? Especially for stuff like flowers. Don't let them get away with saying flower. They have to say that ending. Now, when you're assessing, you're not going to correct them, but just jot that down. Hey, they didn't say S. At first, it might be a huge list of things, right? And it's going to get smaller, though, as you insist upon reading perfection. Another thing that you can do with older kids, older students, or really stubborn kids, which a lot of times that's the really smart kids who think that they've got it all down, is you can have them listen to the audiobook while they read the book out loud, right? And if they say it's too fast, guess what? Nowadays, you can like slow that thing down by a half or whatever, because sometimes when kids are doing this, especially with their parents, not necessarily with their teacher, but especially with their parents, they'll say, I did read that right. I said flowers, or I said set. And you're like, no, you didn't. You said set, right? So, but the audiobook is not wrong, right? So give them the audiobook, put it on, have them read it out loud, and as they're reading, they're going to say, oh, they're going to notice all the mistakes that they're making. Finally, for the older kids, we kind of want to know, including middle school and high school, we're trying to figure out when we're assessing their reading, are they not comprehending what they're reading? Or is there a problem that there are words and vocabulary that they can't either decode, which means they can't figure out like exactly what it says, or they just don't have the vocabulary, right? You can test this by having them read a passage to you. And if you are a parent of an older child, and I would say, when I say older, I mean 2nd grade and up, but definitely middle school, arbookfind.com is going to be your best friend over these next 30 days, because you're finding out what grade level the books are on, right? And so let's say your child is in the 7th grade, you look it up on AR Bookfind, give them the 7th grade book and say, hey, read this. If they can't, then you know, oh, okay, well, you're not ready for a 7th grade book yet. But what you could also do is you could read a passage to them and then ask them questions about that passage. Hey, what just happened? Hey, where did Kim walk? Right? And if you read this to them and you said that she walked into the field and they say, oh, she walked into the forest, then you know it's more of a listening comprehension issue that you need to get down into. So that's it for today's video. If you guys have any questions about where to start, just leave it in a comment in the comment section below. Just to go over everything again really quickly, we're going to be teaching our kids to read in the next 30 days. Honestly, I'm focusing on those pre-readers, so pre-K to 3rd-ish grade. readers, but I will also be giving resources in every single video for the older kids, upper elementary, middle, and high school. So make sure that you come back every single day and watch the video. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, those 3 websites, ABC Mouse, Reading A through Z, and arbookfind.com for the older kids. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I hope this has been helpful for you guys. As you can see, I kind of just set up my camera and started talking. So if anything was unclear, let me know and I will clarify and I'll get better for the next video. Now in tomorrow's video, I understand that testing is something that it's difficult and teachers actually train a long time. Like I'm talking about summer training in order to test children correctly, because it's so important to be able to test properly so that you know how to teach properly, right? So tomorrow I'm going to actually sit down and test my kids in reading, and so you'll see what that exactly looks like for a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. Bye-bye, guys.